New at 6, there is now a push for the Kenosha police officer who shot Jacob Blake to be fired. Rusten Sheskey was not charged in the shooting, and Sean Gallagher shows us why some experts believe that Officer Sheskey's actions led up to the shooting could be the crux of where everything went wrong.
While no charges were filed against the officer who shot Jacob Blake, the American Civil Liberties Union is calling for his job, saying he cannot be trusted to serve and protect. And in the nearly 900-page shooting investigation, the officer told investigators one thing that experts believe back up the ACLU's claims.
Headquarters 618-707, family trouble.
618.
As Officer Rusten Sheskey responded to the 911 call about possible family trouble, he told investigators he mentally started the process of preparing himself. According to reports released by the district attorney, Officer Sheskey got a look at Jacob Blake's criminal record. But investigators say Sheskey also admitted to them he knew the neighborhood he was about to enter is known for a lot of drug and gang violence. The reports also indicate Sheskey thought to himself, due to heavy gang activity in that area, Blake would likely try to run from law enforcement.
On one level, it's understandable, but on another level, yes, it's problematic, right? Because heavy gang and drug activity in a neighborhood often is code for black.
Professor Keith Finley with the University of Wisconsin Law School serves on a Madison Civilian Police Review Board. He believes Officer Sheskey's presumption of Jacob Blake having gang affiliations could have put the actions of that day in motion.
Almost certainly led him to view this individual as more frightening, intimidating than he would if he'd encountered a white person in a suburban neighborhood who behaved exactly the same way.
Does Officer Sheskey's presumption that Jacob Blake had any sort of gang affiliation have any impact on how things played out that day?
There's nothing from the investigation that would indicate that.
Jim Palmer is the executive director for the Wisconsin Professional Police Association. He says Officer Sheskey's thoughts and words are not necessarily examples of implicit bias. Rather, he calls Sheskey's process an example of proper policing.
I think officers ought to prepare for everything and prepare for any kind of outcome and any kind of action. But ultimately, and I think this case again is a very good example of that, officers' actions are dictated by the actions of those whom they encounter.
It strikes me as virtually inevitable that it played a role, and to the extent that he was stereotyping about this individual on the basis of the nature of his neighborhood, that can be problematic.
Professor Finley says Jacob Blake also may have brought his own bias into the situation when encountering police. Investigators say Blake told them, quote, "I knew it was going to get ugly." Blake was ultimately shot 7 times by Officer Sheskey. Professor Finley says ideally everyone should try to put their biases aside, but ultimately the onus, he says, is on those who hold the power.
There is a heightened responsibility that comes with the privilege of wearing a badge and carrying a gun and being authorized to use it against individuals.
I reached out directly to District Attorney Michael Gravely about our concerns of any oversight related to Officer Sheskey's potential implicit bias. District Attorney Gravely tells me he will not be making any more comments related to this investigation. In Milwaukee, Sean Gallagher, TMJ4 News.